Hello, my name is Jackson Chiza. I am a alumni of Kent State University with a criminal justice degree, and I currently work at Oriana House as a caseworker. I served 4 years in the United States Navy as a quartermaster.
Let's start with Sonny.
Okay. About Sonny the veteran or Sonny the person? Oh man. I met Sonny in our first year experience class, and we didn't really get to know each other until after that. So that was the first time we met, and it was more like, okay, here's this guy, and he kind of made fun of my degree because I was in criminal justice, and he already had a justice degree. So he was like, what's your degree? And I'm like, criminal justice. He's like, well, good luck with that. So it kind of started there, and then as the class went on, we would talk a little bit here and there after class. I personally think that Sonny was overall just a great person. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he had the biggest heart out of anybody that I've ever met. But I think that he hid a lot of what was bothering him, and that's why he was so happy all the time. Like, he forced himself to be happy all the time so that people wouldn't know how he really felt. Like, there's no doubt in my mind about that. And I think that when he was alone and when he didn't have that crutch of people around him is when it really ate him up inside, and really, like, he spent more time alone, I think, than he did with other people, right? And, worrying about school and worrying about his life and worrying about, his family and stuff like that. And so I think that that's kind of like when there's got to be too much. So I don't think that the military lifestyle was fit for him, right? And that's neither good nor bad. It is what it is for anybody. Some people can't. It's not for everybody. But for him, I think that what did, it kind of brought out, like, almost if you were to put like a dog into a cage or put him into a corner, it's going to lash out, right? So I think that that's what happened, and he lashed out, and it kind of backfired to where maybe if he did have that mental illness at that moment in time, he wasn't in the right place to get it treated properly. He, at that moment, identified with being bipolar, and accepting that as who he was as a person, where you couldn't really see it. I mean, because he always had a smile on his face. He was never sad. He was never depressed. It didn't seem like, but he was definitely one that would take on your problems as his own, right? So I mean, not only was he struggling with his, but then he took on everybody else's problems, trying to make them feel better, trying to make them feel good, even though they were going through a rough time. So yeah, he was definitely one to lend a helping hand, or, yeah, for sure. Well, here the thing is that Sonny's case, nobody knew he was suffering. You didn't know that. He would never show that. And I think that the day I called Sonny, and it was fine, and then I called him like a week later and his phone was off, and then I called him like 2 days later and his phone was off, and I knew he had already killed himself. I knew it, like, for sure, because Sonny was not a person that ever shut his phone off. So he's talked another person out of committing suicide and gave them the suicide hotline for veterans. So, like, he was that person. He was a person that knew everything about every situation. There was nothing that he didn't know, guaranteed. Every moment with Sonny was definitely an experience. As I put it in Hillel, when I forget what it was called, but we had like the, let's remember his life thing. It was like, I've never spent like so much time with somebody doing nothing, because like the relationship that Sonny and I had was based on, just like learning and understanding, and like, whereas most people, they get together, watch a football game, and they'll do this and do that, and they'll have, like, Sonny and I would just sit there and talk for 4 or 5 hours at a time and play chess, and we'd always go out to dinner. We'd always go out to Wild Papaya, and we eat the same thing every time we go out there. He would always get the same thing. Siam duck, and he was the most interesting, but just calming person. Like there was nothing that he never got mad. He never showed concern about anything, which was the most amazing thing that I've ever seen. Like it was like he was content. He was so content with either today or tomorrow or getting up and moving, or it didn't matter. You know, it's like he definitely had an understanding of his life and what he was doing, you know. And even after he committed suicide, it was like what he had done. And honestly, I'll put it this way, and I think that this truly defines Sonny. When I walked into his apartment, and he had everything, all of his stuff, he had boxed up. Everything that he owned was boxed up, and it was neatly placed in his apartment. And he had on his sorry.
Give me a second. Keep going.
Hold on. Let me catch this. So he had everything boxed up, and he had all his stuff. Like he had a little night table, and you know it had an envelope on it, and all his stuff, you know, that you would find like in his pocket or whatever, like his wallet and everything like that. And there was a note on the door that said, "Caution, suicide victim. If found, please call." Blah 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 blah. And even up to the point, and as I'm sitting here looking at this, thinking like, he planned this whole thing, right? And he knew what was going to happen. And even at that time, he didn't want his family to have to go through the trouble of gathering up all his stuff. And he didn't want, whoever was going to find him, he did not want them to see him. It was crazy. So like that selflessness, I think is truly what defines Brad Sonny Sonenstein, to be honest with you. And I think that's why, you know, I don't have very many friends, you know, I mean, but Sonny was one of my very best friends that I can say, even in the, 5 years that I knew him. So if you do have an inclination that somebody is having thoughts or whatever, just be loving and be a friend and just say that you are there for that person no matter what. And don't press the issue, and, you know, just love that person to the best of your ability. Like, I really don't think that there's any other